Casey Anthony trial. Many are speculating as to what the problem was when court ended abruptly with no given explanation on Saturday. Today, we now know what it was all about. Good evening. I'm Kelly Dunn in for Shannon Kay.
And I'm Jay Cashmere. There was another dramatic twist in the Casey Anthony trial this morning. After a weekend of psychological testing of Anthony requested by her defense team, the judge ruled this morning that the proceedings would continue. Jay Gray is live outside the courthouse in Orlando with the very latest. Jay?
Good evening, Jay. Yeah, Casey Anthony's lawyers, as you talked about, specifically asked for this competency hearing after what they describe as privileged communications that led them to believe she was unfit to move on with the trial.
Okay, on Saturday, the defense filed a motion to determine competency to proceed.
3 state psychologists examined Casey Anthony over the weekend, called in at the request of her defense team to determine if she was competent to continue the murder trial.
If she's exhibiting some sort of detachment, or maybe she said something that isn't consistent with the way she's been in the past, she's had some emotional times in these courtrooms, but the bar for competency is really very low.
Judge Belvin Perry studied the doctor's reports and consulted with all the attorneys in chambers, delaying the start of this morning's court session by more than 30 minutes before announcing his decision.
The court will find that the defendant is competent to continue to proceed.
As the case did proceed, defender Jose Baez called lead investigator Yuri Melich back to the stand, suggesting that his investigation was sloppy and asking Melich to clear up some earlier testimony where he misspoke about the dates he had subpoenaed cell phone records for Roy Kronk, the city worker who uncovered Casey Anthony's remains in December of 2008.
Are there any other incidents where you misspoke to this jury?
You're suggesting that I intentionally misinformed the jury, and I did not.
Sir, I'm not suggesting anything. I'm just asking you simply if there's any other information that you gave this jury that was false.
Not that I can recall. Is there something that you wanted to bring up?
What Baez continued to bring up were his questions about how thorough the investigation into Kaylee's death was, as he continues to try and convince the jury that the little girl's death was a tragic accident.
And let's get back to the competency hearing for just a minute now. It was done outside the presence of the jury, and most observers here agree it will have no bearing at all on whether Anthony will testify in her own defense. Live in Orlando, I'm Jay Gray. Jay, now back to you.
Jay, we understand the defense filed a motion this afternoon requesting a mistrial. What do you know about that?
Yeah, we know that Ann Fennell, a defense death penalty expert, was in the courtroom and filed that motion. It's basically surrounds a ruling made by a district court judge in South Florida. In his specific case, he ruled that the death penalty's sentencing scheme for the state of Florida did not apply. Now, look, most people you talk to say that that is case specific and it really won't affect this trial at this point, though she has refiled something and asked the judge to revisit a motion that she filed early in this case, citing pretty much the same thing, that the sentencing scheme for death penalties in this state is out of whack. And so she's asking Judge Perry to look back at that. We could know by the end of the day today or early in the morning his decision on that, Jay.
All right, Jay Gray live in Orlando. Jay, thank you. And a reminder, you can follow